Alrighty, so the welterweight recently has got some words in the grapevine, and I'm just here to talk about some of the matchups that have been leaked. Some unconfirmed, some confirmed. Some in talks, but we know how talks go. Doesn't always pan out as intended. So I'm just gonna go through a breakdown of all these welterweight matchups that have been being talked about recently near the end of this year. Now, the first one I want to get out of the way is something that I don't actually think is going to happen. Even though there's a lot of rumors and there's, people posting like the matchups and everything like that. And that matchup is Colby Covington versus JDM. Now, if you don't know, Colby Covington's last fight was against Leon Edwards. He lost. And now he's saying on Twitter and a bunch of other places that, JDM is the next matchup for me because if he beats JDM, then he's a number one contender. Number one, not how that works. Number two, not even fucking close. Number three, bad matchup for Colby Covington. And number four, Colby has said this about every single fucking fighter in welterweight. He used to say it about Khamzat. They never fought. He used to say it about not Leon. Well, he did say it about Leon Edwards, but that was before he was champ. He says it about everyone in the division. That's just what Colby Covington does. He'll talk about Dustin Poirier. He'll talk about Charles Oliveira. He'll talk about fucking everyone. And I think people are really putting a lot of stock into this because they think it's realistic. Listen, I'm not saying JDM here isn't gonna take the fight. I think JDM would take the fight. I don't think JDM's scared of Colby Covington. But what I am saying is that if Colby really wanted to fight, he would have fought Ian Gary. I think that's just the cold hard truth here. Because Colby Covington sucks. Current Colby Covington sucks. Young Colby Covington also kind of sucked, if we're being real. But it's just a bad style matchup for JDM. Like, the only reason why Gilbert Burns was doing well, and I picked Gilbert Burns against JDM, is because Gilbert Burns was able to get dominant grappling going. Colby Covington doesn't have any dominant grappling at all, He's a little bit of a... He's like shit Marab. He's like Marab, but like natural, without the PEDs. So he can't do the same pace. This is just a bad match for Colby. Like, there's no reason for him to take this fight at all. Now I know it's like number one contender fight. I mean, we're talking a number one contender fight. Like, Shavkat would have been that. He's even talked shit about Shavkat. That fight's never gonna happen. I feel like a Kamaru Usman it kind of makes sense, but it kind of doesn't. You know what I mean? I know, like, Kamaru Usman's whooped Colby Covington twice, but one of them was arguably a draw. And then Leon Edwards just beat him. But, like, Sean Brady, he's number 6. Like, personally, I think the realistic matchup, and I don't think Colby has any aspirations to genuinely be champ. He's not active anymore. He's just getting older. If you were to get a title shot even after JDM, this dude is going to be 37, pushing 38. That's not good in modern MMA anymore, You don't really see that. I don't even like his chances against Bilal Muhammad, but regardless of that fact, it would be like a good storyline. I just think it's like, Colby's not taking this fight. Even if the fight is signed and the fight is about to happen, I would put money. I don't gamble, I don't bet, just saying. But I would put money, if I were betting and gambling, on Colby Covington pulling out due to an injury or whatever. I bet any money right now Colby Covington has an injury and he's just yapping to yap to get a fight signed. Maybe for show money. That's kind of what I'm thinking. I personally just don't think Colby Covington's... To be honest with you guys, I don't think he's going to fight anymore, I just think he's not... Like, what is the reason why you're not active? Leon Edwards becomes champion. There's multiple ways you can get number one contender. You don't. And you just kind of sit out and wait. And then you fight for the belt and you lose. You've had 3 title shots and you've lost all of them. You're not getting another title shot for at least another 3 fights. Title shot is out of the question. I think his next fight, even if he wins or loses, he just stops fighting, I think he's almost done his contract, and I think the UFC might be done with him. You know, that's my personal take. Now, I could be incorrect on that. I'm not like saying this is absolute law, but I just think this fight is fake. I don't think this fight's genuinely gonna happen. It's gonna be one of those rumors, you know, when we saw those pictures of like Oliveira, you know, standing beside Colby Covington and the Dustin Poirier, Colby Covington, and, you know, like those are realistic matchups for Colby. I don't think Colby's gonna be fighting young blood. You know, I just don't see it. You know, maybe that's a hot take. I just think it's fake. Moving on to the next matchup. The last card of the year here. We got Joaquim Numanza Buckley versus Ian the Cuck Gary. Now, this is an interesting one. This is a very interesting one. Because Ian Gary is actually fighting someone who can beat him. You know? He's not fighting a Neil Magny, which is a free layup. He's not fighting a Jeff Neal, where Jeff Neal just has brain damage and decides to not fight. Even though, arguably, you could say he won that fight, just saying. And he's not fighting MVP, where MVP just doesn't know how to grapple. Now, another case where MVP kind of just let that win get away from him in that final round. And he's not fighting like a D-Rod. You know, Kanan's on. He's fighting a legit contender here in Joaquim Buckley. And that I can appreciate. Someone who actually has name value, someone who's actually dangerous, someone who actually could be a top level contender here. You know, Joaquim Buckley has a lot of losses. Ian Gary doesn't have a lot of losses. So your natural thing is, oh, well, he's a flawless fighter. He's never lost. Fair enough. But Joaquim Buckley did just knock out Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. What I want to say is that Joaquim Buckley's not doing well against Wonderboy Thompson. However, this is Wonderboy Thompson. Alright, I know he's old, but he's still a Chad, alright? He's still got that warrior karate gene. You know, it's a rare gene where you see a karate specialist get a warrior gene as well, you know? And Wonderboy just is him, you know? But we need to not forget, in terms of, like, striking, Wonderboy is still probably one of the best. He is the best karate striker ever in MMA. And I think he's one of the best strikers, okay? Not talking about boxers. You know, I'm not talking about kickboxers. I'm talking about MMA striking, you know, where there's a takedown threat, where there's, like, stuff going on, you know? He's one of the best MMA strikers, you know? And I do think Wonderboy was going to win that fight. And, yes, he got knocked out, and some people are like, well, he's old, blah, blah, blah. I think what's important there, though, is when Wonderboy got knocked out, this wasn't like, oh, he's old, he got chinned, damn, that sucks, you know? This was, Wonderboy was trying to get away after a takedown, trying to push him off, and Joaquim Buckley came with a fucking right hook from hell himself. I swear to God, I heard Doom music start playing, and then he just fucking landed it right on the chin. That was like a perfect right hook, right after getting up. Was it a left? No, I think it was a right hook, right after he was trying to get away from the takedown. And it was just a perfectly timed hook. What I'm trying to say there, that Joaquim is improving rapidly. This Ruzaboa fight, great showcase of grappling. Especially if Ian Gary's pulling fucking guard in round 3. Just saying. A little bit of a red flag, you know. Vicente Luque, well, Vicente Luque did have brain damage in that fight. At least it's a good win, I guess. We're just going to ignore that one. Alex Morono. You know what? Hey. Alex Morono is on his first 2 losing streak in a row. And that's because of our boy Joaquim Buckley. Alright? He's making records. Alright? You know. He's TKO'd Fialio. What I'm trying to say is that Joaquim Buckley is very dangerous. And I'm sensing a chinning from Gary. Ian Gary does not have a great chin. Now I know there's like, well, he got dropped by this guy and that sort of narrative. I'm not really too concerned with him getting dropped early in his career. We saw that with Ilya. I feel like that's just a bad example, you know? So my personal take is that I think the takeaway from this is Ian Gary is a good striker and a pretty good grappler. But for Ian Gary to be good in these areas, his opponents have to be weak in the area, if that makes sense. So MVP outclassing him on the feet, I think we all agree. But MVP didn't have anything for the grappling. Ian Gary worked in the grappling. Great. Good shit for Ian Gary, right? Jeff Neal. Now, Jeff Neal just, I guess, had fucking brain damage and decides to not strike. So what does Ian Gary do? He plays the clinch game, and he wins it because Jeff Neal decided not to knee the thigh at least once, you know? So that's the kind of the problem we get with Jeff Neal, right? Neil Magny, his striking isn't great because of leg kicks. Ian Gary does great with leg kicks. What is the way to beat Joaquin Buckley? Well, if we take a look at his losses, he gets knocked out. He gets a decision here from Amavov, which is now looking good, but this is middleweight, you know, and that's another thing here. You know, we're looking at a filled-in middleweight against a vegan welterweight. Just saying. But Joaquin Buckley, like, he's losing by KO, or he's lost by KO before, early in his career, okay? This is like 26-year-old Joaquin Buckley here. He's got a bit of a win streak here, and his last loss was to a KO, and that was 3 years ago. In my opinion, the way you beat Joaquin Buckley is you have to be a dangerous striker, you know? Now, he can lose by decision, but I do think you have to be a bigger opponent. Nasruddin Imavov, like, if we look at Nasruddin Imavov and Ian Gary, Imavov looks like he's on fucking roids compared to Gary. If you don't know what Ian Gary looks like, right, this is not what he looks like anymore. If you look at him in his last fight, he literally looks like a skeleton in there, okay? He is soy as fuck, like soy built as fuck. He's literally like Alex Morono built, you know? And it's pretty good that Joaquin Buckley has that win under his belt, you know? So I think Joaquin Buckley actually has a really good shot of winning this. I'm personally making an early prediction of Joaquin Buckley by a knockout. I do think it'll be like a TKO situation. I think he'll wobble Ian Gary pretty badly, and Ian Gary's gonna make like a dumb decision. Not like as stupid as pull guard, but I think he might try to shoot like a sloppy takedown, get dropped, and then the ref calls the fight, and Ian Gary will be like a Petrosian Shara Bullet situation, where it's like, okay, the ref called the fight, but to be fair, in a way, it's like Petrosian was still there, you know? I'm not saying they shouldn't stop the fight there, I'm just saying that, like, it bridges on an early stoppage. That's all I'm trying to say. But, yeah, my prediction would be Joaquin Buckley. I actually do think Joaquin Buckley, the way to beat him is that you have to be dangerous either on the feet or on the ground, and if you're dangerous on the ground, the thing that's going to win against Joaquin Buckley is the fact that you're dangerous, so Joaquin Buckley's trying to focus on not getting taken down. I don't think Joaquin Buckley is going to be worried about getting taken down by Ian fucking Gary, alright? And now Joaquin Buckley is going to be the shorter man, which is something to say here. Damn, Joaquin's only 5'8"? Holy shit, Joaquin. Hey, yo, Joaquin, hit me up, brother. I need to get fucking in the gym. Whatever you're on, bro. I want to take it. Anyways, yeah, Ian Gary is going to be the bigger dude, but Ian Gary also has tiny baby arms for his height. It doesn't showcase his reach here, but I would wager that it's not far off Joaquin Buckley's. But Ian Gary, okay, if you look at Jeff Neal's fight, just saying, if Jeff Neal threw any heat in that fight, Ian Gary's getting slapped. I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. I'm sensing like Ian Gary just no chin, vegan built, you know. What I think Ian Gary is I think he's got a Charles Oliveira chin. I think it's weak, and I think he'll get cracked, and he'll drop, but he'll get right back up type of situation. I just don't think when he gets dropped badly for his first time, the ref is gonna, you know, give him his flowers. So I think Ian Gary's gonna go in with an ego and think that he's gonna dominate Joaquin Buckley. I think as long as Joaquin Buckley keeps it standing and he doesn't, if he shoots takedowns, fine. But as long as Joaquin Buckley goes in with, I'm going to win this fight, that's all he needs to do, you know? If he's losing on the feet, getting picked apart, shoot a takedown, get a takedown, Ian Gary has zero problem sitting on bottom. We know that, you know, in more ways than one. But, yeah, I'm picking Joaquin Buckley. I think this is a good matchup for Joaquin Buckley. I think it'll be entertaining to watch, and this is like kind of a test if Ian Gary can handle people who are dangerous. Moving on to the next matchup that's rumored. This one I don't think is confirmed yet as far as making this video. Shavkat Rakhmonov for the interim title against Kamaru Usman. Don't know why we're talking about interim title. Bilal has a fucking broken toe, you know, basically a torn labia, but what the fuck are we talking about an interim title? This is just a number one contender bout, you know? Shavkat recently is coming off a win against Stephen Thompson. Just saying, okay? And Kamaru Usman's coming off a 3-loss streak. No interim belt. This is a number one contenders bout. You know? Now, I'm not afraid of an interim belt here. If they want to do an interim belt, hey, I'm all for it. Alright? Keep fucking Tortilla Man out of the picture as long as you can. Alright? Until he's a ripe 38. Then we have him fight Shavkat Rakhmonov. I'm fine with that. But Shavkat versus Kamaru Usman, I do think it's a sick fight. I think it's a fine fight to make under the context that Belal Muhammad's pulling out. We can make it short notice, number one contender bout. Ian Gary's already got a fight with Joaquin Buckley, even though he was yapping, talking about fighting Shavkat. I don't know why you signed against Joaquin Buckley then. Pussy. Anyways, just saying. Moving on. And JDM's talking about fighting Colby Covington. I think this sucks for JDM because I do think JDM's going to take this fight and then Colby Covington's going to fall out. And it's just going to be yapping back and forth and we're not going to see JDM for another 6 to 8 months. That's my personal prediction. But Shavkat Kamaru Usman, I like this matchup. I think this one is like a Shavkat test. This is like, hey, can you actually fight former champions? Wonderboy doesn't really count. There was a draw. Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal's kind of a little over the hill at this point. Barely can beat a fucking injured RDA. Neil Magny. It's Neil fucking Magny. And then a bunch of people who don't matter. But Kamaru Usman, he's only fighting top level competition. He's only been fighting top level competition for 6 years plus, you know? And he could be not welterweight go. Definitely not welterweight go, but he's up there. He's like top 3, I'd say. Top 3, maybe top 3. So I think this is a good test. And if Kamaru Usman loses and retires, no one blames him. He's only lost to former champions. If Chimaev wins, that's not a bad look, you know? Except for whoever the fuck that is. But yeah, it's not a bad look. You know, I like it when these champions are rematching or fighting Youngblood, because if they lose to Youngblood and they go to win the belt, then it's like, oh, they retired, and the guy who beat them is the next champion. Who cares? So I think this is a good retirement fight for Kamaru. I do think Kamaru's going to fight. I do think Shavkat's going to win. I think this might be a rare case where Shavkat actually gets a decision, where he's threatening submissions and where he's, you know, rocking Kamaru Usman here and there. You know, we do know how Kamaru Usman loves to cheat in his fight. Every time you kick his fucking leg, he complains about a low blow. Every time you throw out a jab, he complains about an eye poke. He makes it very obvious, almost like he's playing fucking soccer. And when he kicks a ball, he pretends his foot broke and shattered off the ball, and then blames the other team for it. That's kind of who Kamaru Usman is. But I do think this is a fun fight. I like this fight. Don't mind this fight. Good fight. And good number one contender bout, you know? Have Shavkat fight a former champion. The most recent, okay, not most recent, but almost. He was a champion 2 years ago, okay? And this is a full fight camp, Kamaru Usman, I believe. I guess because it's 310. So it's what, 2 months-ish? Kind of the making of this video, especially if he's preparing now. I just don't like Kamaru Usman, old now, knees are damaged. I know he did well against Hamzat, but that was an unhealthy Hamzat. Robert Whittaker fought a healthy Hamzat. 2 different Hamzats. But yeah, moving on to the last fight. I accidentally clicked on the tab. It is what it is. Sean Brady versus Leon Edwards is in talks right now. I like this fight. I think it's realistic. I think Sean Brady has done enough to earn a number one contender bout, you know? I do think the reason why I'm calling it a number one contender bout is because this is a number one contender bout for sure. Joaquin Buckley, Ian Gary is kind of like an appetizer, if you will. And then Sean Brady, Leon Edwards, I think is going to be the number one contender bout after Shavkat or Kamaru Usman gets a title shot against Belal Muhammad. Now, real quick, I'll just mention, if Kamaru Usman does beat Shavkat Rakhmonov, great for Kamaru Usman. He can fight for the belt, and I actually do think he smokes Belal, regardless of Belal's whatever. Is Kamaru Usman younger than Belal Muhammad? There's no way. Hold on. Hold on here. How do I see his age on this fucking website? I don't use this. 36. Okay, he's not younger. Alright, I needed to know. Very fucking close, though. But yeah, man. I like this matchup. But yeah, Sean Brady, Leon Edwards. I think this is realistic. I think this will be the #1 contender belt for whoever wins against Shavkat Belal. I think Sean Brady would deserve it because his only loss is to Belal Muhammad. Makes sense. Make it happen. And Sean Brady's kind of like he's like a quiet Colby Covington. He's getting all these like bullshit matchups that he kind of deserves better. And he's not really talking shit at all. He's just taking them, and he's like, oh, you wanted me to fight Kelvin Gastelum on his weight cut down? Okay, no problem. Smokes his ass. Oh, you want me to fight Gilbert Burns? No problem. Smokes his ass for 5 rounds, you know? Gilbert Burns after, what was it, a 2-fight losing streak? Right? Because he lost to Belal. Oh, and then he lost to JDM. Right, yeah, true. So, yeah, you want me to fight a aging Gilbert Burns to get him out of here? Sure, no problem, you know? And this is all after losing to fucking Belal Muhammad, you know? But Jake Matthews win, you like to see it. Michael Chiesa win, you love to see it after what he did to Ferguson, guys. You know, that's a beast right there. But, I do think Sean Brady's kind of paid his dues, and he's silently just working as a hard young man. You don't really see him too often, but he's always at work type of situation, you know? And Leon Edwards is coming off that embarrassing performance against Belal Muhammad. Now, I do think it's a little caveated because of the time zones and all that, but I do think Leon Edwards, if he does win this, I think it's justified to do a rematch. Leon Edwards, I didn't really have a close fight, but he almost finished the fight in round 5, to be fair, you know? So I do think Leon Edwards, this is like his test to see if he can hang with new blood, you know? Because Rocky Edwards is kind of getting older. He is kind of getting older, you know? I just turned 33. I think the problem is, though, is that he fought, like, just before new blood came in. The Sean Bradys, you know, the JDMs, the Shavkats. Like, he's slightly older than them. And he just barely is coming in just after them. You know what I mean? Or just before them. So, kind of sucks for Leon Edwards in terms of style. I do think Sean Brady's got a nasty style for anyone in the division. But, what I will say is that Leon Edwards, on paper, you know, is kind of the style to beat Brady. Great takedown defense. Great at, you know, separating the hands, standing up, you know, boring sniper on the feet, but sniper no less. I think that's the way you beat Brady, you know? Aside from the sniping part, like, pressure is kind of how you beat Brady. But I do think the anti-grappling is going to help with Leon Edwards. And this is just to see if, you know, Edwards still got it, you know? If he still got the dog in him, you know? I think, just predicting odds, you know, if this fight happens, if Colby versus Jack Della Maddalena happens, I would predict Colby plus 250, JDM probably -4 something. I think JDM should be a 4 to 5 to 1 favorite. I think JDM smokes Colby if that fight ever happens. Again, don't think it will. Ian versus Joaquim, I think the odds are genuinely going to be Ian Gary, probably a -225 type situation, where Joaquin Buckley's the underdog. So if you're a gambler, this is probably your fight to bet. Shavkat probably should be a 3 to 1 favorite against Kamaru on a three fight losing streak. They might do a little bit of justice because of the Hamza performance, but maybe. And Sean Brady versus Leon Edwards, I think this one should either be a pick'em or Sean Brady -150 type situation. But yeah, those are just my predictions. Those are just my opinions on the new fights announced. Just a little bit of matchmaking. You know, and, you know, trying to light some fire in the welterweight, you know, because we do have a terrible champion right now. So we got to see who the next new blood is going to be. You know, there's no fucking way JDM, Ian Gary, Joaquin Buckley, Shavkat, and Sean Brady are not able to beat Bilal Muhammad. It's just not fucking possible. Someone's doing it, alright? One of these four. But yeah, with all that being said, I want to thank you for watching, getting to the end of this video, and as always, I hope you have a good day.